Let's get started.
But
Hey everybody, it's Torrie, the founder of the Mighty Dames, and we're back for another roll call interview. This time we are joined with the amazing Hillary. Hey Hillary.
hi, you want me to do a little introduction?
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Okay.
Let them know who you are, where you train, how long you've been training.
So I'm Hillary VanOrnum. I own and run Unicorn Jiu Jitsu in Portland, Oregon. I had to do some math to figure out how long I've been training. I've been training in Portland for 12 years.
Okay.
Before that, we were in DC, outside of DC in Virginia, and I trained. We did a year. My brother and I did a year of it was called Combat Defense Systems, and
Okay.
every day was a different discipline. One day was like Ballet Tudo, one day was Krav Maga, one day was like a Koshukan karate, which was like kind of kickboxing. One day was judo, and one day jujitsu.
Okay.
So I did that for a year, and then that program kind of stopped. The judo coach that was there was awesome. He's super high level. He was like, come just train judo with me. So I trained judo for a year, just judo, but we did a lot of groundwork there.
Okay.
And then my husband and I moved back to Portland. He wasn't training yet. I'm went to high school here in Portland. So
Okay.
I'm from San Diego,
Okay.
but
You
anyway,
travel. You've been.
yeah, we lived in Utah for a year when I was like 4, Ohio for 2 years, like in Akron, Tennessee for 6 months, in Knoxville, also Virginia when I was like 2, because my dad was in the military,
Okay.
and then San Diego off and on between all of these, and then we moved up to Portland when I was in the 8th grade, and then I went to college in Texas, in Fort Worth.
Jesus. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I've just been in Florida my whole life.
But yeah, Brian and I moved back to Portland in 2007, and my brother was always my training partner. My brother's 6'5" and about, I don't know, 280. He's built like me, but he's 6'5", and I'm 5'10". So, but he was always my training partner, and he wasn't back here yet. So I was like nervous to go train. So I waited 2 years, and I started back in 2009 at Team Quest here in Portland, back when it was like a MMA hub.
Yeah.
Got my black belt in 2015. So at the end of this year, I get my 2nd degree on my black belt, which is insane.
What? Does it just seem like you blinked and like, oh crap, am I really about to get another one?
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny, like this is the longest I've been at any belt, because once you're black belt, you're just there. And I don't consider myself a new black belt anymore, but I think up until about a year or 2 ago, I was like, oh, I'm still a new black belt. It's like, you have a stripe on your belt, like you're not new anymore.
You have a stripe, so that means you've been doing it for like, what, you've been a black belt for 5-6 years now?
Almost 6, like 5.5 right now.
Crazy.
It's super crazy.
Oh my God, it's weird. I remember like when our coach got his he got his first stripe and he got his 2nd stripe. I was sitting there looking like, you've been around here for a minute. Like, I see what you're doing here, sir. But it's weird that like you've been a black belt almost as long as I've been training. Just about.
Well, and my first jiu-jitsu coach was in Virginia. He was a purple belt at the time.
Okay.
And he brought in a black belt, and we were like, oh, they do exist. Like, forget a female black belt. And then here in Portland, my coach, when I was at Team Quest, Fabiano Scherner, I think he's got to be a 4th degree now. He was a 2nd degree. And I was like, oh, wow, he's amazing. He's another big guy you should look up, Fabiano Scherner.
Yay. Hillary's giving us a lot of big dudes that we can look for, and I'm here for it.
So yeah, it's wild to think that. And my husband's going to get his black belt this year, which he didn't start till training till I was a purple belt.
Okay.
That's when I finally convinced him. And now he's like, why didn't I do this before?
See, that's like what everyone says who like, I am a person who like, they say jiu-jitsu is for everyone, but it's not. It's not for everyone. It's a weird thing that we've decided to make our life. It's like, it's a weird thing. But those people who do kind of eventually like admit they love it, they're like, oh my God, I could have been training like 4 or 5 years ago. Why wasn't I in here? It's like, well, that time's gone. Just enjoy what you have now.
Well, I think I took 2 years off when we went back to Portland. And I think if I had trained during those 2 years, I don't know if I would have stuck with it, because there were even less females then. And the guys went even harder. And that's a whole story for another time. But being a female in this sport, especially 10, 12, 15 years ago. Yeah.
Also, maybe it was a good thing that you had that break to kind of like.
That's what I mean. Like, I think it was probably good.
Well, that's what we tell people all the time, especially with how COVID hit. Like, dude, don't worry, jiu-jitsu will be here when you get back. Like, take some time, work on your shit. You come back, you'll have a different hunger for it. And like you said, there'll be more women here, which will, and it'll make you a little bit more comfortable just to like be in the environment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So since you mentioned Team Quest, big MMA school, so like you're one of the few heavyweight women I've ever heard of who's done MMA. First of all, why? And second, like, what was that like? You know, again, like I think right now the highest recognized is like lightweight, but let's be honest, there's a handful of lightweight. So like 145 tends to be the top. I don't know about you, but I couldn't make 145, 155 if I cut my leg off.
I'd be both legs cut off, like just
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I was at Team Quest, at first I really liked the striking best. Judo was like my love it for a while, partly because I had such an awesome coach in Virginia. His name is Maurice Allen, and he's Scottish, which was threw a whole wrench in my judo terminology because a Scottish accent saying Japanese terms was even his daughter. His daughter she's a double black belt in judo and jiu-jitsu, and she was like super high level competitor, and she'd be like, Dad, what? But so when I started at Team Quest, I really liked the striking. I felt like jiu-jitsu, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, get on top, stay on top. Like, and we tried to find me fights for a long time. And like one of my coaches there, Robert Follis, who went on to coach Misha Tate to her championship, and he's no longer with us, but that's a whole other story too. But he was like, Hillary, you're never gonna make below 185. Like, we sat down and like, I remember this conversation, but he was like, you know, Ed Herman can barely make 185 and you're bigger than him. And you have a similar issue of like cutting weight that he does. And he was like, 185 is top, or is the bottom for you. So we tried to find me fights for a long time. And in that like journey, I guess you would call it, I competed in jiu-jitsu, and I was like, holy shit, there's women out here. And that was back when there was just heavyweight was the top end, but there was like, my first year competing was at blue belt, was my second year of blue belt, and we went to San Diego for the Abu Dhabi World Pro back when they would let us heavier people do that. And then I did Worlds, the next tournament was Worlds. And that's when I was like, oh, this is rad. But during that time is we finally found me an MMA opponent. She was 6 foot something, had been training for a few months. She went to a gym and they were like, you're signed up to fight already? And she was like, yeah, I hit hard. And they were like, you can't train here. You're not prepared to fight, not to fight Hillary. So I took that fight. It was I think the weight class was 225. I weighed in at like 212 because and she had to cut weight to make that. Went out there, she did hit real hard. Like kind of knocked my jaw out of alignment. But the second round, I just pushed her up against the cage. Well, I guess she didn't want to come back out for the second round. The second round, I pushed her up against the cage and got a TKO from knees. But that was my first fight. She, to be honest, I think had no business being in there. I was
that with guys a lot.
Yeah, she knocked dudes out in practice. So that means you should fight. So I did that, and then I had several fights lined up at 185, which was like, can she get there? It would have been rough. But I was walking around about 195 then. So that was my skinny Hillary, was 195. And I was wearing like a size 12 in women's clothes, maybe a 10 sometimes. Like I was thin for me, and I was still 195. I had several fights fall through. I was supposed to go to South Carolina to fight a girl multiple times. Like everything kept getting canceled. One opponent here in Portland, the girl got arrested. That didn't happen. So then I was like, well, I guess I'll just focus on jiu-jitsu. And my second fight was, I got a call on Tuesday and said, hey, what do you weigh right now? And I was like, 210. And they were like, what can you make for Saturday? We have a girl that she was supposed to fight someone else. The opponent dropped out. She really, really wants to fight. She's supposed to fight at 165.
Jesus.
What can you make? And I was like, 195? And I was like, how about day before weigh-ins? And they were like, no, it has to be same day weigh-ins because she lives in Pendleton, Oregon, which is like several hours away. She had to work. Okay, 195, we'll try. She won't take it. She took it. So I had Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, when we heard that she was going to actually take it and the commission would allow it, I had to weigh 195. She had to weigh in at least 171. So 3 days was Hillary not eating, like egg whites and spinach and tomatoes was about all I ate. And I just worked out like crazy. Weigh-ins were at noon on Saturday and I fought that night. That was the, like, people talk about like Masvidal just fought, and he the first time he fought Usman,
pounds or something,
20 pounds, but he had day before weigh-ins and they have all the UFC people to help him. This was 15 pounds in like 4 days with same day weigh-ins. I couldn't eat after the weigh-ins. I was trying to eat like sweet potatoes and chicken and drink water, and I drank Pedialyte. She ended up weighing in at like 178 because she had like quarters in her pockets. She was drinking water, and I'm like,
she was trying to weigh up.
She was trying to weigh up, and yeah, so that fight was rough because I was so depleted.
Yeah.
And I don't have experience with that. But I did win unanimous decision, and that was my toughest fight. And she ended up being one of my students for a while and one of my teammates, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
She's kind of stopped training now, but she was pretty rad. And then again, no fights because nobody wanted to fight me, or there just weren't the ladies.
Yeah.
And then my last fight was almost 8 years ago. It was the same day that my nephew was born. So that's how I remember. But yeah, this girl really wanted to fight me. She kept talking like trash about me. I think I was a purple belt at this point. And the first time we were scheduled to fight, I got my cornea scratched. Like that week of the fight. So we postponed it. She talked all kinds of crap about me. Like a cornea scratch is, I think, the most painful injury I've ever had. And I've torn my ACL and I've broken a leg. You can't do anything about it to stop the pain. Yeah. But I ended up finally fighting her first round TKO. Like, she didn't even hit my face. And I had Worlds like 2 weeks later. So I took her down. She ended up pinning her own arm under my leg, like in mount. So I just pinned her other arm and like was hitting her. And I looked at the ref, who was a friend of mine. I'm like, Dave, are you gonna stop this? And he's like, yeah. And then afterwards, she still talked trash about me, like, well, she didn't even hit me that hard. And I'm like, I didn't want to, break my hands on your face.
Yeah, but it's like, but I hit you hard enough for them to stop the fight, and you didn't stop me. So
she's not even training anymore. She's another like big mouth that doesn't. She had no business being in there with me, and like that's not like, I don't like to sound cocky, and that's not me. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
So after that, it was like I was like, okay, I'm done. And then Gabby went to MMA, and the Risen people in Japan had found about me and were like, hey, do you want to fight Gabby? And I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
They were like, okay, send us videos of you sparring. They kept wanting videos, and they asked for a lot. And I hadn't been training MMA for about a year or two at that point. But I was like, for Gabby, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just kept not picking me.
Oh my gosh. I guess she'd had what, like 3 or 4 fights, something like that?
I think more than that.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I mean, yeah. And at that point I was like, you know what? I'm not jumping through hoops for you guys to fight her. And then it became more of a joke the more she fought like the grandmas. So
yeah, there was some some pro wrestling people in there.
They were in their 50s.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the Japanese MMA for one, let's just say that. But like there's also, that's what happens when you hit a certain weight. There's just like not the bodies there. So it's basically like, I mean, we got somebody who says they're close to weight. She's weighing in a full sweatsuit, but we're not gonna make any questions. That's weird. That has to be a hard thing to stay motivated for too, when like you want.
Well, I pretty much took times where I was like, I'll keep training, or it just finding the opponents was so difficult. And so for the last fight that I had was at 205. Okay. And I had gotten up to about 230 before that and had to drop quite a bit. And after that, I was like, you know what? It's just the weight. And to be that thin, I was barely eating. Like I was eating, I think 1,200 calories a day. And it's just, yeah. And then I tore my ACL and then I was like, I'm done with MMA.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm just like, good. Kudos for you sticking through it as much as possible. I tell people all the time, like, oh, would you ever do so and so? We have a couple of bigger girls down here. I was like, hell no, I cannot take a punch for shit. I've been like light sparring a handful of times, and one was like, fuck it, let's do this. And I just got jabbed in the nose. Not a particularly hard, but like, when you're accurate with the jab and you hit them dead, it hit here. And I just saw like this radiated pain all up my head. And I just like, I'm good. I'm not about that life. I'm gonna stick to the ground stuff. Nah. It's a special person to like be able to do MMA. Cause like, fuck no, I can't do that.
Well, and all the other the bigger girls that do MMA are all, if they do it and they actually train, they're scary. I mean, they're big, strong, aggressive, mean girls. Like, I mean, they're not mean, and I don't know about them, but like, when they get out there to fight, they're mean. And there were a couple girls that I wanted to fight. I mean, this is now 9, and I don't think I'll be around anymore. But yeah.
Well, it's similar if you think of like, when we think of like MMA is heavyweight for men, you think of the heavyweights, like even the ones who don't look that well trained, like, do you really want to risk it?
And they hit so hard. My first opponent, she hit real hard and she was real strong. I couldn't get her down. Like I was trying to get her down against the cage and she was really strong. And I mean, I was a blue belt then. I hope I could get her down now.
Yeah.
But she was just big and strong and she was athletic.
Yeah. Well, see, that's another thing. It's like some people, there's like different types of big. So I always tell some of there's like a big when they're like solid, like not even particularly muscle, but like everything there is tight. They're not moving. We have the jiggly big. Then you have the jacked up big. And it's like when you have to me, that solid person is the worst to try to move because like they're like, what are you doing? It's, oh my God. That's what I strive to be. It's just a solid block of a person. So like I'm just hard to move around in any capacity. So since we're already talking about like competition and all that, so you're a black belt. You're in, what are you, like a master 2, 3? 3. Okay, master 3. So what is it like what is competition like once you hit that black belt level, once you get older? Because it's fair for me as a purple belt now. So like, what is that like?
Well, fine. I mean, having opponent, I have not competed at Masters 3 yet. I'm 43 and I haven't had either opponent. There hasn't been anybody. So I have 2 coaches. One is James Foster and the other is Jiva Santana. And they both are like, sign up for your for your weight class. Of course I have to sign up for my weight class. There's no option there. Right. Sign up for each division. And if, maybe somebody will see that you're there and they'll sign up. And I'm like, So I sign up for Masters 3. And then, I mean, I was doing adult up until 2019.
Ooh.
So, yeah, which is hard. I mean, when I first went against Dominica, I was like, I could be your mother. I mean, I would be a very young mother, but I could be your mother.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, you're so sweet. Like, and then she kills me. But it's another level. I mean, and starting out at black belt, I did adult. My first match was in Montero. And I was like, okay. Second match, Andresa Correa, and third match, Dom. Dive right in there.
Welcome to black belt.
Welcome to black belt. And and then I tore my ACL in my second tournament at black belt, which is Worlds. So yeah, I mean, it's hard, and it's interesting now seeing like we're signed up to, or we're going to New Orleans next week to do the New Orleans Open, and there's hardly any women black belt signed up. There's a few at adult, but I'm done doing adult, at least for now. Like owning a school and trying to get my students. We're bringing 6. There's 6 of us going down there, so I've got 4 students and my husband and I. I'm getting them ready. Yeah. So it's really, I don't know how like Galvao, I don't know how he was coaching at the level he was coaching and then competing too. That's really, really hard. So I'm just doing masters for now, but I moved down to masters 1. There's I think 4 other girls, 2 heavies.
Okay. Hey.
And then 2 like light feathers or feathers.
That's about right. There's no
but they're all new black belts. Like I looked
Okay.
them up and I'm like, I don't know who you guys are because you're new. And so that's starting to happen more. These like
That's
more
good.
girls are coming up that are much newer black belts. So it's like, oh,
like, yeah, they do keep coming. Like, okay, all right.
And it's that's cool. And I think that's going to help grow the divisions.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, I think when I came back from my ACL surgery, I did Pan Am's was my first tournament back, and I did Masters because I was not ready. Like Foster was like, "Are you ready for Tayani?" And I was like, "Physically, no, not quite yet." Like, so I did Masters, and I won my division. There was one other girl in my division. She moved up a weight class from heavy to, have an opponent. And then I got second in the Open. I lost to Jenna Bishop, but I won several matches that day. And I was like, I wasn't happy with how I did because I was like, well, they were all smaller than me. And one of my really good friends and training partners was like, Hillary, they're black belts too.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, at that stage, like you'd hope the excuses weren't there as much. The other ones, because like you are black, like you've been doing this for a while.
I'm still like, I'm not happy with how I did at Masters Worlds last year. My first match, like, I think the other girl probably should have won. It went to ref's decision. She did a loop choke it was tight. And I told her that afterwards. I was like, that was really tight. You should have gotten an advantage for that. And you didn't. And I won.
Yeah.
Not happy. And then my other matches, just not happy. Like I wasn't happy with how I did. And I still got silver and bronze. Like,
yeah, sometimes I will say that's one of the things that like almost like bums me out about being like when you're in the heavier weight class. It's like I want to feel like I earned my medal. And like it sucks when you see, I know it's like, oh no, 1 or 2 matches and you're gold. But like you see like you'll see your teammates and you see them working through like a 14, 15 man bracket. And and they pick that bronze medal up. They're like, fuck yeah, I got this bronze. Because you know what they had to go through it. And then like you're holding a gold medal, you're taking a picture on the podium. There's like one person there. You're like,
but there's nothing we can do about that.
No.
Yeah. My husband has gone through, he's won Masters Worlds at blue and purple.
Oof.
At blue, he had like 50 something guys. And then he did the Open and he got silver in the Open by like a ref's decision or an advantage in the finals. Like, and then at purple, he went to Masters 3, but he still had like 20 guys in his division.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, ooh, I've got 4.
Yes. I think we talked about this before. Like the most people I've ever had in division, like including myself, I want to say was 5. So like, and when I saw that 5, I was like, holy shit. Full bracket.
At Worlds, there were 11 or 12 of us. And it was heavyweight. So that was before the super heavy. But yeah, I was like, holy shit. And like a lot of those girls are black belts now, which is also pretty cool.
Yeah. It's interesting because like you do a certain degree, you have to kind of just like wait for people to float up and wait for them to advance. But at the same time, it's frustrating because people keep losing fucking weight, man. So like most of the girls that I knew as super heavies as white belt, I think maybe 1 or 2 of them are still super heavies. The rest have thinned out on me. Like, you traitors.
Well, see, like I don't think either of us can ever make that heavyweight.
Oh God, no. Like the lowest I've been in like my adult life, and I'm not counting like when high school, like I had a senior year, I'm about to lose all this weight. But like as an adult, the smallest had been like 210, and I looked fucking weird.
195.
Yeah, and like I never want to get to that again. So for me, like a healthy walk around competing weight is right around like 240, 250 is like where I like to stay. So I'm chipping my way back down to that. But yeah,
I don't even weigh myself anymore. I don't know what I weigh. It doesn't matter. And it's just gonna make me sad and like frustrate me. So I just don't get on the scale. And if I go to a doctor that like, I try to avoid doctors that require you to get on the scale, which I know isn't good, but I don't want to like.
I weigh myself out of amusement because like, how there's certain days you walk around like, oh, I know I feel heavy today. And like the last 4 times, like, oh, I feel heavy as shit. Like, oh God. And I get on the scale, I'm looking like, oh shit, I lost a half. I'm gonna eat that cookie now. But
I measure myself.
Yeah,
I measure like my bra, my waist, and my hips.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like that's a more positive way to do it if you are like working on like toning your body up or thinning it out a little bit, is to do measurements instead of weight. I said, like I'm in the process now of chipping back up, because when COVID, I picked up a COVID 30, so 30 and then some. So I had floated up to around I think it was like 334. It was like the highest I'd ever been. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm at the point now where I'm not healthy. So I kept chipping. But it's weird, because like when you're a woman, you already know your weight's going to fluctuate just because of the extra hormones. But like when you know you're not doing work, you can't train, and you do all that, and like all you can do is eat. And then like, oh, I should go outside and walk. I'm not fucking walking. Give me another donut. So now we're in a healthier space, and we can actually train a little bit more and actually like get out there. So that's been like a freaking godsend. So
Yeah.
But you own your own gym. Unicorn Jiu Jitsu. I would have worn my shirt, but my girlfriend stole that shirt. I want to say, when was camp last year? It was in August.
Yeah.
August. That's about the time we started dating. I want to say like 2 months into our relationship, she took that shirt. It's like, I like this, and it's never been in my home since.
We have more.
Oh no, yeah, I gotta send you some stuff too, got some new stuff coming out. So I got you.
Okay.
So yeah, how long have you had Unicorn Jiu Jitsu, and what like kind of drove you to open it?
So we opened in May of 2019.
Okay.
So when I was at Team Quest, I started coaching. They had like an instructor's program, and it was like a 2-year program, and they really worked on how to, not just what to teach and like the techniques, but like how to coach. And Robert Follis really influenced how I try to coach. And it's not just teaching. So there's like teaching and there's coaching.
Yeah.
Teaching is like, I'm going to show you how to do the thing. Coaching is like working on your mindset, like just everything. Why you're doing the things you're doing, and having like a purpose. The words are not flowing very well for me this morning.
I know what you're saying.
But it's more. And so I started coaching there. Did some kids classes, which was like itty bitty kids of just like doing obstacle course. I taught a fitness class. And then like I helped coach not jujitsu, but kickboxing.
Okay.
MMA classes. And I really liked it. And like growing up in high school, I played basketball, and in the summers we ran kids camps for basketball. So like little kids would come in, and the high school kids would teach the camps. And I've always really liked coaching and teaching. And in college, I did some of that too. So it was kind of a natural fit. I switched gyms at Purple Belt, and the gym I went to, I was like, I really want to teach. And it was like, yeah, that would be great. We don't have any room on the schedule for you. Okay. Brown belt. I really want to teach. Yeah. There's not really room for you. Okay. So I was lifting, doing my strength and conditioning at a gym, owned by, at the time he was a brown belt. And our coaches were like, hey, you should put mats down in your gym and do a little jujitsu. And he was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good idea. So he started a jujitsu program. And I was like, hey, Tony, what if we start, like, a lot of these ladies in the lifting are like, hey, Hillary, you do that jujitsu stuff. Like, what's it all about? And I was like, hey, can I start a women's program? And he was like, yeah. Sure. He was totally on board. We started 1 day a week, and it grew so that like we started a 2-day a week program. So I would go train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe take Friday off. And then I would teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I only had them Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it was kind of a joke. We did this I'd have to look at the dates. I was a brown belt when I started, and I left in 2019 to start my gym. So it's been a while, and a lot of nights we had more ladies on the mats than the guys. And it would always be this joke, like when there would be more guys, Tony would be like, hey, we beat the ladies tonight. But
we're rising up.
I really like coaching, but I still wanted my own training. And I just didn't have these girls every day of the week, and I wanted more. And we started looking at this is when Brian was, I guess he was a brown belt, or no, it was a purple belt this time. No, brown belt. It's
blurry.
I think it was a purple belt when we started looking. and he really wanted to teach. And like sometimes when Tony, the owner, was out, Brian would teach the guys, or we would merge the class and we would start teaching together. I was teaching a lot of seminars, not seminars, well, some seminars and a lot of camps.
Yeah.
Camps or special events like Black Belts for Butterflies. And Brian would always be my assistant. And we just, I don't know, he just was like, I want to teach too. And we just started looking into it. And Rhonda Andrews, who's like one of my very best friends, she owns her own gym in Las Vegas. And she was like, I remember when she first started it, and like we talk all the time, and we just talked about like starting a gym, and I really picked her brain about like what is involved. And she's helped a ton. And yeah, we just were like, let's look and see if this is possible. And my parents helped us out, and my brother, he's a blue belt now, my original training partner.
There you go.
But he's taken breaks. He's been a martial artist his whole life. Like how I started training was because when we were in Virginia for Christmas one year, I was like, what do I get him for Christmas? And he was like, I really want to train martial arts again. I was like, okay, I'll buy you 2 months of training. And then we started looking at gyms, and I was like, I think I want to do that too. So that's how I started training. But it's been his lifelong dream to own a martial arts gym, and he's our kickboxing coach.
Okay.
But we started looking at spaces.
I love your space though.
Oh, wait till you see it.
It looks from the pictures when you start, like, oh, this looks cool. I like this layout.
Well, we started looking at spaces in like the fall of 2018. We just started kind of looking and like, how much does it cost? Like just researching. And there was one time Rhonda was here visiting, and I drove her by some spaces, and she was like, yes, no, yes, no. And then we found this space that we're in, and the rent was significantly cheaper than other places, and it looked kind of funny. But I think growing up, my mom's always like bought and redone houses, so I can see a space and maybe kind of see potential in it.
Yeah.
And I saw this space, and I was like, I can see mats working here, and I can see this, and we got it. And our landlord's been rad during COVID, so I think we really lucked out on the space. But yeah, so we started Unicorn, and the story on how we came up with that name, I think just because my hair, and I always have my nails, like, you can't really see them, but they're glittery. I'm sponsored by Show Your Roll, and Show Your Roll, I think my first year at Black Belt, they just started calling me Unicorn, and I like unicorns. I even have this is my mouse pad. I grew up riding horses, so I love horses and unicorns. And we were like, but calling it Unicorn Jiu Jitsu, like that's going to turn some people off. And we met with one of my old students. She works for like a marketing company, and we met with them, and they come up with like brand strategies and like the story behind a brand, and then how to fit the story behind the brand with the actual brand and the marketing, and like everything from the font to the logos. And they were like, no, Unicorn's the perfect name. You're going to weed out people. You know, we don't want one of the reasons I wanted to start this was to create a gym that I wish I had coming up, to create a space for everyone to feel comfortable to try jujitsu. And we have competitors to, women in their 50s that are just trying this for fun. Yeah. And everybody in between. But the marketing company was like, no, you need to stick with Unicorn. Yeah. And we did. And I think we have had a few like bros walk in, but they don't stay. And the guys that come in that I'm like, ooh, I don't know about him. They end up being very receptive to me. I've talked about this week with so we've been getting new students lately. And if a guy comes in that's very receptive to me and listens to me and respectful of me, because being a woman coach, like it's different. Yeah. And we're not just a women's gym. We have, I think it's kind of 50-50, maybe a little bit more women, but we're pretty even. So yeah, it's weird. I used to teach our competition class, even that's like a small level, but I'm a purple belt, but we're still a young gym. So I'm one of the higher ranks. And even then, my coach will be in the gym, but he's doing something else. And they're asking him, he's like, Torrie's coaching, ask her. And you can tell the ones who've known me long enough, they have no issue with it. There's still a couple of them, the newer guys come in, they're kind of like, ask the woman? And like you say, they don't really last that long, or they change their tune extremely quickly. It's
you don't really have a choice. So, but no, that's pretty cool. I like how you explained your reasoning. Like you wanted to create the gym that you never had. I've been me and my girl have been recently talking about like us investing in our own businesses and stuff like that. And I am notorious for saying there's no way in hell I'd ever open a gym. Like, fuck this shit. I never. And like this year, I was like, you know what? I could do that. And similar to you, it's not like I want to do one because of what we're lacking, like what I don't have. It's more like, man, it would be great, like a Rhonda, to be like, I just want to be this Black chick in the South who owns a jiu-jitsu gym. And like, I wonder how that would change up, the demographics on the mat. Like what kind of, like, could I get more Black kids and more brown kids on the mat if I'm there? That could be pretty dope. So like now maybe it is like what I'm lacking is like I'm that diversity or that inclusion. So like now I'm like, I've been like thinking because I'm getting closer. I'm knocking at brown. We're gonna get there. It's like, 5 or so years might be a possibility. We'll see. But yeah, you never, that's the good thing about jiu-jitsu. Like you never know where it's going to take you.
Well, there were some other reasons too. Like I wanted to bring in more women for seminars, but I had to like ask permission. Like what's the schedule like here? What do you think? It was, I couldn't just go do. I had to ask either my coach or the place I was coaching at. Like I had to negotiate with them, and it wasn't a bad thing. It was just working around other people's schedules and what their visions of things. And if you're different, they're the owners, they're the boss. Like if they don't agree with it, then you don't get to do it.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I think there should be more women coaches and gym owners. So
he said there's a lot of bro coaches out there that like we could have some more women to balance it out. It will not upset the balance. It'll be perfectly fine.
I want it to become normal. Like we're seeing women coaching in the NFL and NBA and Major League Baseball. Like why not jiu-jitsu too? And jiu-jitsu works whether you're male or female.
Yep. And then it stops like tokenizing it and stops like fetishizing it. It's like, oh, you're a black belt coach? Ooh, like it's like, oh yeah, she owns the gym. Cool. Next story. Like we kind of want it. It's weird because we kind of have to spotlight it now because it's that rarity. We want to give it the credit, but at the same time, being just another gym among many, there's something comfort. Just not always having to have that highlight. Sometimes it's like, okay, we're just fine.
Well, and being a female black belt gym owner is kind of like being a unicorn too.
Yeah.
There's not very many of us.
It's a rare. Well, this is funny because you talked about Rhonda and like I've met her a couple years ago.
She coached you one time, right?
Yeah, she coached me, and like I like forever will be indebted to her because our gym, we compete, but they're mostly like we have younger kids and like the kids, the guys who train are like training for MMA. So we have an average amount of adult competitors. So I compete a lot. I already try to. And that means I have to get out of Florida if I want. I know everyone here. Like I've gone against you 8 times, like next. So I went to Vegas for the American Open or American Nationals. And it was just me and my sister. I said, fuck it, let's see what happens. And I went to like the first day, she like saw one of my matches. She's like, you here alone? Like, yeah. Like, you need help? Yes, thank you. Or I think she was talking to my sister and like, are you coaching her? And my sister's like, no, please say whatever you want. And like came back the next day, helped me out. Like it was really, that was one of those moments where I was like, oh my God, there are good people in jiu-jitsu. And the fact that, again, like you said, it was a black belt who like volunteered to help me. I was like, I'm so special. Like it's one of those things where I have little moments with a lot of upper belts that they may have considered a passing thing. But now that we're friends and we're social, we talk about, I remind them of that. I tell them like, you don't understand. That was a whole moment for me. Like I was like, oh shit.
Well, I think it was for Rhonda too. I mean, she saw, because Rhonda's not a small girl. Rhonda made middleweight for like a year, starving herself. But she's not a small girl either. And I think she saw, hey, there's another kind of bigger black woman out there. I can help her. Mm-hmm. And that's Rhonda. So
like I said, I wanted to go back. I was gonna do Worlds last year. It's weird because I would have been fine going to Vegas last year, but when they came to Florida, I was completely unprepared for it, so I couldn't do it, and I was pissed. But I'll be doing pants
in Vegas this year.
I can't go to Vegas. I can't do Vegas this year because I'm going to Indiana, and then I have like a sister's trip thing they're all making me do.
It's November.
I know, and that like I don't know. I say no now, but we'll see. But
Ron and I will both be there. We will both yell at you. So
awesome. I work well to yelling because let's be honest, like when they're coaching, I hear about 30% of it. And when I know because I can't see without my glasses. And if I hear them like, okay.
You don't need to look at us when we're coaching.
I do it. There's a bunch of videos of me squinting, looking at my coach. He's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, no, it's bad. I have terrible eyesight.
But you don't need to see to hear.
No, but it's the same thing. It's like you turn your radio volume down when you're trying to find the location you're going to. It's just like a focus thing. Like hearing and seeing go hand in hand. Yeah, I know, because I have shit hearing too. So I was like, I need all of my senses need to focus. So we need to really see what the hell is going on here, or it's just. But yeah, this is dope. Thank you for talking. We basically had like a long ass story time, which I'm totally down for. But so do you have anything going on this in the next couple months? Just training?
New Orleans.
Or are you trying to do any competitions this year?
Well, I'm gonna go compete in New Orleans, do the Open. Hopefully some girls will sign up for it.
Okay, good.
And then there's a tournament in Boise in June.
Okay.
And I'm trying to convince one of my other best friends, Marisha Maljasiak. I say her name poorly every time, but I'm trying to convince her to come out and then stay for like a week or so, however long I can get her to stay. Mm-hmm. And then the big thing I'm really excited about, we haven't announced it yet. So a big name female black belt is planning to come out here in August for like a month-ish and train. And that's something that we want to start doing, is bringing out people, females, males, doesn't matter, to come coach for us for like a week, a couple weeks, a month. And we're going to call it like coach in residency instead of like partisan residency. I want to try to do things differently, different things.
That's a really
why not expose our students to different coaches? Like, I don't ever want to be one of those, like, you only learn from me. Like, I don't trust what they're going to teach you, because I've heard of that. And that's no good.
I did not know that was a thing for the first years I was training.
Oh yeah.
Because I've been cross training since a little over, since I was a blue belt. Because Melissa down here, Melissa Lawson, I've been training with Melissa, I want to say since I was a white belt, but like right on that white to blue level, because I have no heavies. And she has like 4 or 5 heavies around my side, and she's a higher belt. And she invited me. That's one of those things, like she just mentioned, hey, you should come over sometime. But for me, a young white belt, I think she was a brown belt at the time, like asking me to come train with her, I was like, okay, excuse me, I can't come. I can't hang out with you guys today. I'm going to go train with a brown belt. Yes, it's a one step. The next one's black. It's coming. But
there's coaches that are like, if you go train there, they're going to steal your secrets. I think it happens less now. This was more when I was a white and blue belt. I heard about this. I've still, I don't know what the team is, but there's a team around here that, like, in their logo, it's like, something like loyalty and Creole. Is that how you say it? Like within their logo, no Creole. I'm like, wait, what? We're still doing this? 2021? Okay. Weird. I never understood that mentality, because we were always told to like go to a seminar, train someone else, get stuff, bring it back to the gym. So the fact there's still gyms that like, you can't cross train. Like, first of all, I'm grown. Yes, I can. But yeah, there's still people out there.
It's a weird.
I'm lucky that, especially like brown or purple, until I left, my coaches were very like, go cross train.
I think it's especially important for women too, because like if there's women in your gym, most time it's not a lot, and they tend to be on the smaller side. They tend to be like one body type. So I think for us, and that's why there's so many successful women open mats, is because like people want to go train with other women. So, all right. So if they want to learn more about Hillary, they want to hit you up. Where can they hit you? Where are you at online?
I'm more online on Instagram at Unicorn. Is it _ Jiu Jitsu? I don't even know. That's how bad I am. And then just on Facebook, or our gym's website is just unicornjiujitsu.com.
Okay. Well, when we do how I do these, like there's gonna be a little banner under here with your Instagram handle on it, so they'll know how to reach you, and all of the other information will be in.
And our gym is Unicorn Jiu Jitsu PDX, because PDX is the short code for Portland.
Okay.
So that's the gym, and my husband runs a lot of that.
How is that short for Portland?
I don't know. It's just
that makes
PDX.
No damn sense. PDX.
But you say PDX around here, and they know exactly. Like there's lots of PDX.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna leave that. I'm in the South. We have all kinds of weird stuff, so I cannot judge you here. All right. Well, thank you again. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.